Good afternoon and welcome to this GIRI forum where we're looking at standards for quality in the built environment, and in particular at how effective use of standards can help organisations to achieve competence and quality. I'll be giving a short introduction about GIRI for those of you who are not familiar with this, and then hand over to Tom and Kara from BSI, who will take you through the BS 99001 and how it's been developed, and the standards life cycle and how they are evolving to keep pace with developments in the construction sector. On the housekeeping front, can I ask you to mute your microphones if not speaking, but remember to turn back on if invited to ask a question. And if you don't mind, please leave your video on, because that way we feel the meeting has more vitality. Please use the chat box for questions and comments as we go through for us to address towards the end of the session. And if you have any tech problems, well, the usual advice, turn off and try again, i.e. leave the meeting and rejoin using the same link. Back in 2015, an ICE best practice group asked themselves the question, how much is error costing the industry? And the conclusion was, we don't know. GIRI was founded and obtained funding from industry to carry out a research project to establish the cost to industry of error and its root causes. And this research culminated in the issue of our strategy for change. Let's look at the key findings. We employed various methods of analysis in our research, and this is the summary of the results. We found the overall wasted spend on error amounts to 21% of turnover. There's the direct cost of error, which is measurable from NCRs and the like, and comes out at 5%. The indirect cost is the impact on other parties, particularly in terms of delay and disruption, and that amounted to 7%. And then unrecorded process waste at 6%, where errors occur and are corrected without being recorded. And of course, we have latent defects, unfortunately, which occur after handover to a customer at the cost of 3%. Now, this has a range depending on project size and complexity of about 10 to 25%, but it's still an order of magnitude higher than average construction company profit margins. And it's worth noting that studies in other countries came up with very similar results. The root causes of error were analysed, and these are the top 10. Inadequate planning, design changes, poorly communicated design information, a poor culture in relation to quality, poorly coordinated and incorrect design information, inadequate attention paid to design during the construction phase, excessive commercial and financial time pressures, poor interface management and design, ineffective communication between team members, and inadequate supervisory skills. When looking at planning, a fundamental issue in terms of achieving our plan delivery is profitability. Taking a look at the contextual logic behind the GIRI philosophy, the definition of productivity we use is based on inputs and outputs, and we relate these to effectiveness and efficiency. Efficiency is the ratio of amount produced, the output, for a stated amount of time and resource, which is the input, and effectiveness relates primarily to the quality of outputs, however that may be defined. So improving productivity relates to both, because efficiently producing the wrong thing is not productive. GIRI was established following the original research as a not-for-profit membership-based organisation with the strategic aim of improving industry productivity, and we became a limited company in 2017. GIRI has a wide variety of members, small and large across the country, clients, contractors, consultants and supply chain, and this gives us the widest possible background to base our research and recommendations. So let's take a quick look at how GIRI is going about achieving its objective. There's our thought leadership through training, through our framework, systematic approach to avoiding error, and forums such as this one. And then we have our research, which we carry out and is available on our website. Communications through LinkedIn and other social media, and networking as a result of our quarterly members meetings, which are held usually at the ICE, to which all members are invited. And so what are the benefits of this approach? Productivity, well, I've talked about that. Safety, we found a study in Australia which showed that 37% of accidents occur during rework, and the results will be pretty similar in the UK. So avoiding error makes you safer. And the same with sustainability. If you're avoiding error, you're not wasting materials, and this can help improve your carbon footprint. I think the quality benefit of getting things right is manifest. And if we get all these things right, our outcomes are far more predictable, and that'll give us a better reputation, both as individual organisations and as an industry. There are various working groups looking at aspects of improvement. The working group on insurance helped with issued a guide on relationships with the insurance industry. Our technology working group focuses on technology and learning to support the industry improve its quality of delivery, and we recently issued a guide for improved use of AI. Competency and compliance are clearly important, particularly with new regulations and legislation. And our metrics research group is working with the CONSIG to provide a toolbox of cross-industry standard metrics. There's plenty of collaboration which goes on, and BSI, GIRI is represented on the BSI B570 committee, which is looking at 99001. Now I'd like to hand over to my colleagues to talk about how the BSI is working in the industry. Thank you. Kara.
Thanks very much, Beth. I'll go ahead and share my screen, so hopefully this works.
It's working.
Lovely. Fantastic. Okay, so yeah, Tom and I are joining you today, and we are one of around about 80 odd people within the standards development knowledge solutions area in BSI. And specifically, we focus on the built environment, and then even more specifically, quality in the built environment. So the B570 committee has recently been put into our department, where it used to sit under the 9001 QS14 area, but we brought it into here because it makes a lot more sense within the industry that obviously we're all involved in, and the stakeholder mapping as well. So that makes a bit more sense. So. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to take you through a little bit about BSI. I won't drag on too much about BSI history and things like that, but it does set the scene as to our position within the various standards bodies and within the UK, but also European and internationally as well. So I'll run across that. And then also, what is a standard, and importantly, ways to get involved and offer feedback. We're always open to and very welcome of feedback on standards during the draft public comment phase. So I'll run through the drafting area. Hopefully, it'll give you a little flavour as to why it takes so long to develop standards. But yes, importantly, issues for areas for offering feedback on the standard, but also within the committee itself. So if you don't have Tom's email address, or you want to share it, then, or any other committee, then we can get through that. Tom will then take you through ISO 9001 and 99001 as well, and where we're at with each of those in terms of their revision cycles. And then lastly, we'll touch very quickly on certification and accreditation. And a colleague it will be around as well at the end to answer any specific questions on that. So very briefly, BSI has the Royal Charter and is the UK's official national standards body, so NSB. Forgive me as well if I start talking in acronym. There's a lot of them within standards development. Feel free to pop them in the chat if you have no idea what I'm talking about, because it does take a while to get through them all. Yes, the official national standards body appointed by the UK government under Royal Charter. And it's also one of the largest national standards bodies across the world. We're also pretty old, started in 1901, and as such, it was the first national standards body worldwide. We've got one mission, and that's to develop and maintain British standards to enhance product and service quality, safety and integrity across the UK, nationally, internationally, and European as well. We've got interest, as I say, in ISO, International Standards Organization, in CEN, the European Standards Organization as well, and building standards through there. So slightly rebranded in the last year or two as a purpose-led organization. So again, we're very old, over 120 years, and it's our independence across industries from government. We're not government, we're not based on industry, but we have that global reach and that independence to be able to access a wide range of experts, which sets us apart, I think. We have no particular agenda. It is our mission and our expertise that brings opposing views together in the table and to draft some standards that help the world and help nationally as well. So we reinvest all profits. We have no shareholders, no particular owner, so all profits are reinvested, and that allows for us to really drive forward agendas from a consumer, government, and an industry point of view. Okay. Now, there are four main areas and sort of departments, I suppose, across BSI. As I say, Tom and I are in the knowledge solutions area. And largely, we are the publishing arm. So we create and share standards. We are the national standards body part of BSI Group. And so as such, we have full memberships of ISO, of IEC, the International Electrotechnical Standardization Body, CEN and CENELEC as well. So we are full voting members of all of those organizations. There's a little dotted line that you'll see there, and that's there on purpose, because across assurance, regulatory services and consulting, if we were to have too close a relationship with our other departments, effectively we'd be marking our own homework. So we have to keep that sort of line of integrity there. So that we're not writing standards that benefit our other departments and benefit ourselves. Otherwise, we would lose our NSB status and our Royal Charter within there as well. So we have to keep that sort of line of integrity. That's what that little line is about. It's a light one, but it's an important one. Our assurance services, they provide systems and product certification, and also along with our BSI Academy on training. Our regulatory services, they specialize in areas such as medical devices, AI, and then obviously product certification. And then consulting services, they support the assessment and advice, implementation and continuous improvement across any implementation requirements of standards as well. And that allows BSI Group to have that overall holistic viewpoint on trying to drive quality, competence across many different market areas across the UK. And again, as I say, I've mentioned ISO, IEC, and as a full member, we get to vote, and we have very active participation in many areas. We run many secretariats and have many chair convenerships within those particular areas within any sort of nationally governmental priority areas. So we're very much aligned with what industry and government want in terms of our response to what we work on from an ISO, IEC, CEN and CENELEC point of view. So what is a standard? If you've ever read a standard, it's really great bedtime reading. They are meant for the knowledge user. So there's no way that I could try to implement a standard on I don't know how to design a table or something, because they're very, very technical, and they're intended as such. They're also open to a lot of not necessarily a interpretation, but they specifically don't name particular ways of doing things and particular products and things like that, specifically so that they are very transparent and they are open to innovation as well. But in essence, standards are developed with consensus in mind. And there's a little definition of consensus that's there on the slide. And it really is the absence of sustained and substantial issues. So it is not unanimity. It's not where everyone goes, this is great, let's do that. Somebody might go, I actually don't agree with that, but I see where you're going. That means we have consensus. So it really is a central part of any standards development process. As well, there are different types of standards. So there are specifications, there are test methods, classifications, codes of practice, guides, and processes. And you can see if you had, for example, a test method, say this is to be tested and this is the parameters in which it can be tested, versus a guide that says, well, you could do this or you could do that, but generally this is where you want to aim for, this is your benchmark. So there are different types of standards and they're all within the title of it as well. So that's a really useful part and element of standardization. So I talked first about the process of standardization. So if you'll come with me around this sort of clock face here. So starting off around about 11 o'clock, we have an idea for either a revision of a standard, such as 99,001, or indeed 9001. It's about time we updated it. 9001 is being updated. We should look at 99 as well. So let's do that. Or it could be a brand new standard. We get ideas for new standards all the time on all sorts of random things that come through that need standardization. I think the most amusing one I found was that somebody said that toilet paper was a little too scratchy and could we standardize the softness of toilet paper? So I always think that was a fun one. So moving across the clock to 12 o'clock, we then pop this idea onto our standards development portal, our SDP. It then goes out to the world. The entire world can access it to say, do we think this is a good idea? More often than not, we don't get huge amounts of input at this stage because it is just a concept. But we assume then it goes ahead unless there's major objection to it. It then goes into the committee to say, do we want to do this? Yes, we do. And then as a business, we look at that project overall. Is it actually necessary to update it or no? Then from that committee, a drafting panel is constituted. So a committee of, say, 20 people, then you get half a dozen of them that are experts in that area, and they sit down and draft the standard. The standard, if you come around about 5 o'clock, that goes out for inquiry. So at ISO and CEN, it's usually called inquiry stage. At national level, we call it draft for public comment, or DPC. Told you there was a lot of acronyms. So it goes out again for 2 months, 8 weeks of DPC for commenting. And at that point, we get either just a few or we can get thousands of comments. So most recently, within my team, we had a standard that had the most comments ever, and it was tree placement next to buildings. I think we had about 2,400 comments on that one. So that was excessively emotive, which we didn't quite expect. So the panel then goes back and considers all of those 2,400 comments. We don't respond to them. We just consider each one and say, is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? Do we need to go back and edit this or no? The draft is then issued to the committee and to BSI internally for approval, and then it goes to publish, essentially. And then you'll see in the middle there, every 5 years. So every 5 years, we have what we call a systematic review, where if 5 years has passed and the standard hasn't been reviewed, we then go and look and go back to committee and say, do we need to review this? And 9 times out of 10, well, actually, no, it differs for each one. But that's why some standards you'll see have a date of like 1967 or something attached to it. It's checked every 5 years. It's just deemed as still good. Some of them get updated a lot more regularly than that. So when you're dealing with volunteers and going through such a process, you can see how just updating and writing a standard in a few months actually is not possible. You've got 2 months at DPC, you've got a few months writing it, then you've got comment resolution. So we're working as fast as we can with our committee volunteers throughout that process. And average, it takes around about 18 months, 2 years for a national standard, 3 to 5 years for a European standard, and then maybe perhaps longer for for an international one, purely because you've got so many more viewpoints to consider. Committees itself is made up of all of these different types of peoples and types of organizations as well, but we welcome all applications. You only need to have the relevant knowledge and experience to contribute to the relevant committee standardization program. So most committee members are representatives of an organization. However, some are individual members, and that individual member might be someone, for example, who is a consultant, and but they are an expert in that particular subject area, and so they don't represent anybody but themselves, but they are an expert. So that's a committee. A panel is made up of experts and not representative groups as well. So that's for a drafting panel. And the goal here is to have a balance of views around the table. So, you know, you might get differing opinions from for example, a trade association than you might from an academic institution or a trade union or whoever, and that's where BSI's expertise and independent sort of ethos comes in. That we have expertise in bringing all of these opposing views around the table to develop a standard that's good for all. The chair and the committee manager there are in sort of black because they are essentially their main aim is to assist in an industry oversight and or in knowledge of standards development. But both parties in there, they don't get a vote on anything. They are entirely independent. They don't represent anyone. Obviously, the committee manager is a BSI employee, but the chair themselves, they don't represent any particular person except to be an expert within that particular subject matter. So I talked about the first about how to get informed information on standards and how to feedback. So our standards development portal is the link is there. There's a little QR code to it as well. But this is such a handy site. I use it all the time to find out information on standards, not within my remit really. So if you just register, you can get information sent, and you can click which standards you're interested in or which subject area you're interested in, and you'll automatically get updates on that relevant standard or subject area once you've clicked that you would like to. You can also comment on drafts on here as well. So I talked about the inquiry stage and the draft for public comment stage. So you can comment on drafts in this area. And then also there's a link there directly to the committee manager. So it's one of the easiest ways to feedback directly to committee. You can't get in touch. You don't know who's on that committee, but you've got something to say about it. This standard needs updating. Have you thought about this particular area? Click on that link through the committee, and it will send an email directly to the committee manager. So yeah, it does require a sign up, but it just needs basic information just so that we can get in touch with you. Okay, so now I'll hand over to Tom, and he's going to take you through ISO 9001 and 99001 as well.
Thanks, Kara. So hi everyone, I'm Tom Stack, Lead Standards Development Manager at BSI and the Committee Manager for B570, which looks after quality management in construction. And today I'll be giving you a brief update on BSE and ISO 9001 and BS 99001. So apologies in advance, I'm going to say those numbers a lot today. I might just shorten them down to ISO 9001 just to save me saying too many different initials. Could we go on to the next slide, please, Kara? Thank you. And before moving on to the specific updates, I'll start with a reminder of some of the reforms and kind of wider quality drivers that have been shaping the built environment. So firstly, we've got the government establishing a new arm's length body under MHCLG to take over the functions of the building safety regulator from the HSE. So this move will strengthen independence and oversight while laying the groundwork for a single construction regulator. And importantly, that aligns with the recommendations from the Grenfell Tower inquiry, aiming to simplify accountability. Alongside this, construction products are under review. So in February this year, the government consulted on proposals for reforming the construction products regime. That consultation closed in May, and we're awaiting the government's response. Whatever emerges could reshape how products are tested, certified and enforced, ensuring that only safe and compliant materials enter the market. In parallel to this, we're drafting a PAS, a publicly available specification, so PAS 2000 on construction products, bringing safe products to market code of practice, and that's due for publication in early 2026. This new PAS will provide practical recommendations for due diligence before products are placed on the market, helping organisations to prepare for any tighter controls. Some other drivers that are shaping what quality means. So you've got things like the Future Home Standard, which will be coming into force this year and will require all new homes to be zero carbon ready. The Building Safety Act strengthened accountability by clearly defining roles and responsibilities. It also requires all professionals involved in the building life cycle to demonstrate and maintain competence, ensuring safety and quality at every stage of design, construction and operation. Next up, the European Commission is introducing the EU Digital Product Passport, or DPP, as part of the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation. So any manufacturers wanting to sell in Europe will need to provide an EU DPP for products in priority areas that have a high environmental impact. And these will carry verified information on performance, safety testing, certification, lifestyle data for products, creating greater traceability and transparency across the supply chain. Now, work is progressing in ISO and IEC, so internationally, and also in CEN and CENELEC, so that the European kind of regional level, to develop standards to assist with this digital product passport, and BSI is heavily contributing towards that. And finally, residents are being given a stronger voice. So there are now clearer obligations to involve them in safety decisions and remediation, which improves accountability and trust. Next slide, please, Kara. Now, moving on to the standards, so BS 99001, which is Quality Management Systems specification for the application of BSEN ISO 9001-2015 in the built environment sector, has a very kind of like easy title that rolls off the tongue. It was published in 2022, and it's an extension of ISO 9001, which has been designed specifically for the UK built environment. It was developed in direct response to the post-Grenfell landscape, recognising the urgent need for stronger quality management in construction. As I'm sure you're aware, built environment is uniquely complex. It involves organisations of every size, from huge multinationals to micro businesses, all working across multiple disciplines in a wide variety of contract and project roles. This complexity is further heightened by fragmented supply chains, regulatory drivers, and a shift toward more integrated approaches to management systems, so embedding environmental, economic and social sustainability into projects. BS 9001 takes these realities into account and builds on ISO 9001, providing sector-specific requirements tailored to the built environment. Next slide, please, Kara. Some of the key aspects. So 99001 enhances the quality management system requirements in ISO 9001 by building in recognition of the project-based nature of operations, and it can be used at all levels of the supply chain. The standard aims to shift the emphasis from a focus on time and cost more towards good quality management, driving both safety and sustainability. It also directly addresses common industry challenges and provides structured approaches to manage these risks and keep projects running smoothly. And finally, it supports organisations in aligning with the Building Safety Act, giving clients, regulators and stakeholders confidence that projects are being delivered safely, responsibly and compliantly. Thank you, Kara. And so it provides a structured framework that helps organisations demonstrate their compliance with the Safety Act through clear accountability, traceability and lifestyle risk management. And it also grants exemptions from portions of the Build UK Common Assessment Standard questionnaire. The standard helps to ensure that everything procured, designed and constructed is fit for purpose, supporting a safer, more reliable outcomes. And it also strengthens competence across project teams and improves change management, making it easier to adapt and respond to challenges. Now, beyond compliance and operational efficiency, it encourages organisations to embed broader themes such as sustainability and social value into their projects through measurable project level objectives. And finally, it elevates the profile and importance of quality across the industry, helping to ensure that high standards are visible, recognised and prioritised from design through to delivery. Next slide, please, Kara. So BS 99001 is an extension of ISO 9001. And I'm sure you've heard of 9001, but it's the world's most recognised standard for quality management. It supports organisations of every size and every sector to improve performance, meet customer expectations, and demonstrate a clear commitment to quality. At its heart, it sets out how to establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve a quality management system. And there's more than 1 million organisations across 189 countries certified to 9001, making it the most widely used quality management standard globally. And the current edition was published in 2015, so over 10 years ago, and it's now under revision and has reached the draft public comment stage, or the inquiry stage. And we're encouraging feedback from all stakeholders, and any comments received will go to the responsible UK National Committee, which is QS-1-2 if you're interested. And any comments received will help to shape the UK's position and the national vote. Some of the proposed updates to 9001 include changes to certain requirements, a clearer structure and terminology, and that will just be to improve usability of the standard. Now, the DPC is open until the 20th of October, and it's a great opportunity to help shape the future of 9001. You can view the draft and comment on the standards development portal that Kara mentioned earlier, and there's a link in the slides, and it's fairly easy to find. And next slide, please, Kara. This slide is kind of an infographic just to set out the timeline for the revisions of ISO 9001 and the subsequent revision of BS 99001. So the items shown in black highlight what's already taken place, while the items in red indicate what's planned or expected. Now, we haven't put any dates, especially for the revision of BS 99001, because we don't want to kind of tie ourselves and give false expectations to that. But roughly when the draft of 99001 is in a lot more mature state and it won't change measurably until publication, then B570's UK Commission will be able to, not Commission, UK Committee will be able to then take that draft and then start looking at revising 99001 based on that. Next slide, please, Kara.
If I might just add here, so the sort of clock that I went through is essentially what this timeline is saying. So we'll begin drafting as soon as there is a stable text, and then it goes through those various processes, but it will work in tandem against ISO 9001. So they will work alongside each other. Obviously 9000 will publish a lot sooner than 99 will, but that's that sort of clock face. But yeah, there is a date there of 2027 for 99 to publish, and that's an estimated date. So don't hold us to that one, but it is expected as well. You'll see just at the bottom, around at some point next year, we're expecting 9001 to publish, but an awful lot depends on the comments. As I say, sometimes we get a few comments, sometimes there are thousands, and so it depends to what level those comments are, as well as the number in that as well. So I thought I'd just add that. Sorry, Tom.
No, that's okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think just because of the nature of 9001, we could expect, or well, not we could expect, but the responsible ISO committee could expect a fair amount of comments to work through in the relevant working group.
Moving on.
Moving on. So whilst we're waiting further progress on the revision of 9001, so the responsible UK committee, B570, which I'm the committee manager of, has launched an industry-wide survey, and that's open from July until October. And the idea behind the survey is to inform the future revision of BS 99001. So we're looking for feedback on the standard's value, any challenges that organisations face in applying it, and any opportunities for improvement. Stakeholder input here is vital in ensuring the updated standard reflects what industry needs and making sure that it delivers meaningful impact. So whilst 99001 delivers clear benefits to quality and safety and information management, its wider adoption has been held back by some challenges. So most notably the lack of formal accreditation, and then limited government or industry drivers to encourage its use or adoption. So if by contributing your experiences, you could help us as BSI and the National Committee B570 to understand how these barriers affect organisations and then play a role in shaping a revised BS that's more practical, valuable and widely adopted across the sector. So the survey closes on the 9th of October and you can access it via the link on the slides there. And yep, please send that to far and wide because all input is valuable and will be reviewed by B570 once the survey closes.
Doesn't have to be pretty. Don't. It can just be a one-liner on something that you don't like, or it can indeed be constructive criticism and suggested text as necessary. So, like Tom said, any feedback is absolutely valued.
Exactly. And then, excitingly, UCAS has invited certification bodies to participate in a pilot accreditation project, and BS 29001 was included alongside ISO 56001, which is information management systems, and also ISO 37301 on compliance management systems. So since these standards have not previously been subject to accredited conformity assessment, UCAS is going to evaluate their applicability and then establish an effective and proportionate assessment methodology. So the pilot will bring together interested certification bodies to refine that approach and ensure that it's practical and robust and aligned with what industry needs and best practices. And BSI, not the kind of the department that me and Kara are in, but the department that deals with that, so separate to standards, so knowledge solutions even, has expressed interest in the pilot and is committed to helping ensure that the certification processes are consistent, credible and effective before full-scale implementation. And this represents a major step forward in creating a trusted certification pathway for BS 29001. And next slide we've got, thank you. And then how we can help. So BSI is committed to helping the built environment to meet its evolving challenges and to build confidence and trust in how 29001 is implemented. We've developed a comprehensive training program alongside a new management system certification scheme. And these resources ensure that organisations can understand the standard, embed its principles effectively, and then demonstrate compliance with industry best practices. And then for further information, you can contact us by phone or email or visit the website.
Or through one of our emails. Okay. I think that's the end. I will stop sharing and we'll go on to some questions.
Right. Thank you very much for that. I think it's really important to stress the what we think is in this 29001 and its adoption, because a lot of time and effort was put into producing a standard specifically with the built environment in mind, and we want the built environment to pick up and run with it. And I think the way it addresses more effectively projects rather than specifically businesses is crucially important, because our industry does exist by a multitude and variety of projects. And I also think that there's a lot of legal regulatory documents and acts, you know, with the Building Safety Act and then the newer Building Regulations Part 2A and all those roles. And I think when you've got a standard such as this, it's helping you to really deal with those. So and elevating the profile of quality within the industry. I think these are all very key aspects of 29001 which we need to pick up on. So can we now go to the chat box and see what we've had and whether we can answer some of these questions. Douglas Lockyer, have I pronounced that correctly? How does the BSI obtain its funding to operate when so many of its documents these days are available through third-party online subscriptions rather than direct sales? And for those who didn't do Latin, what does esse quam videat mean? So, Kara, do you want to kick off on that one?
Sure. Taking that backwards and the old faithful of Google, it means to be rather than to seem. It do Latin either, so there we are. That's as far as I'll take that one. But hopefully in a bit more detail, funding. So yes, we sell standards. We sell PDS standards through our, if you're a member, and also just as a general public on our website. You won't find them on Amazon or anything like that. But as said, we sell through third-party providers as well, and then obviously we get commission from that. But if you remember the 4 pillars of BSI Group, so knowledge solutions is the development and selling of standards themselves, but anyone who wants to read our annual reports, the majority of our funding and our money comes from our other departments: certification, regulatory services, and consultancy. So the largest proportion of our income comes from those streams rather than the selling of standards themselves. There are various questions whether, and that goes right across the publishing sphere, of content being available for free, and I won't go into the depths of that one, but except to say that it is something that BSI is aware of, and that will sort of leave it there. But the majority of our funding comes from the other departments, but we do sell standards, and we obviously get commission from all of those third-party providers.
Great. Well, that's fairly comprehensive. Thank you very much. Steve Hall wants to chat with you later, Kara, about a response to BS ISO 22163, whatever that is, and which is apparently related to 9001. But I'll leave you to make contact later.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll copy your email now and get in touch.
And where are we? In what ways does BS 99001 grant exemption to the Common Assessment Standard? Tom, can you pick that one?
Yeah, of course. So where a company holds there's a list of certificates that are held by companies that are included on an exemption list for the Common Assessment Standard. So if you have a certificate for 9001 or 14001, BS 99001 is included on that exemption list. So it will grant you exemption from certain aspects of the questionnaire that you have to fill in because you have satisfied that certification 99001. I think Chloe had already gone back in the chat to that as well.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. They kind of mapped across the requirements of the Building Safety Act and 99001 across to the Common Assessment Standard as well. So that's why you've got the exemption.
Thank you, Chloe.
It's all right.
Right, the build from Colin. I think we know Colin. Hello, Colin. The Building Safety Act doesn't generally apply in Scotland. The regulator has no role. Is there a danger that updating 9901 to deal with the BSA and the BSR undermines its relevance in Scotland? Kara, you can have a...
I was going to say I can pick up that if you want.
I think we've all got an angle that we come from. Essentially, we're always open, as I mentioned, to working with all of the devolved administrations right across. Government time is precious. So they don't get involved in everything. They would like to, but they just simply don't have capacity and be able and time to get involved in anything. But Tom may have some specifics about B570 or indeed perhaps CB0, which is the strategic committee for the built environment and their input there. So I'll defer to Tom for the more specific answer.
I would also say that the B570 committee is open to anyone within reason to join and be involved in the development of the standard, which is applicable in the world, let alone England and Scotland. So it's not just about the BSR and the BSA. Tom.
Yeah, I think it's just echoing everybody else's points, and especially at the CB0 level, which, as Kara said, it's the strategy and advisory committee for the general sort of built environment I'm the committee manager for as well. The chair is very conscious of devolved administrations and conscious that BSI is the NSB for the UK, not just for England. So apologies if it came across just focused specifically on the Building Safety Act, but that is a point that we're aware of and will be taken into any considerations for the future revision, that it's applicable for the entire UK. So yeah, apologies for the confusion there.
Can I just jump in on that as well?
Yes,
Sorry, Cliff. So I work in the part of BSI that was kind of next to the knowledge solutions bits, the assurance. So we're doing audits against BS 99001. And what we've seen when we're doing a project or a company in Scotland is the standard still fits really well, because it doesn't kind of go into the specific requirements of the Building Safety Act. It kind of covers how you're managing competency, how you're managing change management things. So it's equally applicable to kind of Scotland, and we've also got interest in kind of Italy and Spain and things as well. So it's relevant for everyone. It's just a very built environment specific standard, in the same way that you get one for automotive or you get one for aerospace as well. So yeah, right. Thank you.
Well, Steve Jessup is confused. To clarify, Steve, ISO BS 99001 has already been issued, and people are registering to use it. It is available. What we are talking about today is that there is a review proposal to go on after 9001 has been revisited. I think I understand that correctly, do I, Kara?
Yeah, so as I say, you've got two streams. You've got 9,000. So 99,001 is published. That published a few years ago, and 9,001 also published, as Tom said, in 2015. So you've got two versions of two standards there. 9,001 changes are heavily dependent. 99,001 changes are heavily dependent on 9,001 changes. So what we're waiting to do is for the DPC of 9,000 to finish. So then what you've seen is you've sort of got a stable text. They've put it out. They've thought, this looks about right. The world has said, no, this is wrong, that's wrong. They've edited it, at which point 99 can pick it up and go, these are the main changes. Now we can run with it. If we started now, we don't really know what 9,000 changes are hugely. We generally, and certainly that is part of the conversations within committee, to say we probably need to update this, this and this, but we think it's going to include this, this and this, because there is a liaison member, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, from 570 to the mirror committee for 9,001. So they do talk to each other and they are aware. So you've got two streams, 9,000 is over here, 99 is being updated. So people are saying that they have the standard because 99 is published, the old version, but they haven't got the new one because it's not published yet. They also have 9001 2015, but they haven't got the new version because it ain't published yet. So anyone that's saying that they've got the new one, the 2025, there isn't a 2025, there won't be, the 2025 version is incorrect. Unless they've got some sneaky backdoor draft version somewhere, in which case let us know, because that should not be out at all for anywhere apart from on the standards development portal, where you can comment on stuff, or where you can comment on standards. So you've got two streams, and 99 is just tripping behind 9 until we know exactly what's going to happen. I hope that makes sense. Happy to go into much more detail if needed.
I think Steve just needs to understand that 99001 is already issued and already operational, and this is just a review that's coming up next. Now, Steve Hall, I don't know whether you can see the chat, can you? Tom, Kara, the challenge of 22163. What is 22163?
It's quality in the rail industry, I believe.
Ah, right, okay.
So it's like a specific one for the rail industry.
And clearly there's some. Steve, why don't we hear from Steve? He's got his hand up.
Hi, Cliff. How are you? Sorry.
Yeah, perhaps it's easy. I recognise you.
Perhaps it's easier if I
Yeah.
If I ask that in person, yeah. So we have a challenge with 22163 is for the railway, but there's parallels in a way with 99001 because it builds on 9001 with additional requirements. But the challenge I've had with 22163 is it's there as a standard that you can be certified to according to ISO. But when we've asked our contractors to achieve that certification, there aren't really any accredited bodies in the UK that are prepared to offer that. And maybe that's because there isn't very much demand. And what I'm worried about with 99001 is we might have a similar issue if we don't do a lot of work to promote the value of 99001. It was mentioned earlier that UCAS are looking to provide that route to certification, with the accreditation bodies. But if there's no demand out there and nobody's either specifying it in contract or nobody's asking to be certified, then all of those bodies such as Bureau Veritas and BSI that offer this certification service, there's no market for them to do so. So there's this little bit of a circular issue of how do we just raise the profile and promote this standard so that there is a demand for it and therefore a demand to be certified to it. Otherwise it could just go stale.
Okay, well, Steve, clearly that is an issue, but it's exactly why we're having webinars and forums such as the one today to highlight that 99001 is out there and it's important and it's useful. And we've been constantly doing that for the past, well, since it was launched. And it, as with all these standards, explaining the benefits of it and people picking up on it and running with it takes time. The BS, the committee that Tom organises, that is one of our key discussion points every quarter we meet, is what more can we do to emphasize how important this standard is and spread the word. So we're really pleased when someone's actually registered to it, and we're hearing more and more. Tom, you may have some better statistics that people are getting involved and clients are starting to specify. Tom, do you want to have a go?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question of kind of momentum's not immediately kind of gained, is it? It takes a while for a standard to gain traction in industry and to be requested in tenders or proposals. But we are hearing encouraging things of it being requested more and more and being a condition of a tender. So yeah, hopefully it will gain traction, and then we have a whole marketing department to raise the profile of standards and raise awareness. So it's a work in progress for sort of raising awareness of the BS in the industry.
Well, we
are.
do you have any? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So BSI do our own kind of webinars as well. So we've got kind of webinars on 99001, and we've got kind of a white paper that's going to be issued fairly soon. And we've seen a huge increase in the interest in the standard, but also those companies that are wanting to certify as well. So despite the fact that the accreditation is still kind of looming, if you like. It does take time. We've been working on it for a number of years, kind of in the background. But if you kind of keep an eye on the press, there's a number of the kind of tier one contractors that are getting the certification as well. But I think it almost falls down once they've got it in place, it kind of goes down through the supply chain, and they're definitely seeing it kind of covered within tenders as either a prerequisite or a definite nice to have. So that's kind of helping drive it as well. But we're certainly getting a lot of interest from large tier one contractors, but also kind of the contractors they're working with. And then there's a smaller pocket of smaller contractors that are kind of very fire specific, that are looking at the standard as well. So we're kind of growing it from the assurance side as well as the knowledge solutions side of the business.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yvonne Evans, constantly referring to the 99 constantly refers to 9. Couldn't it be combined? Why the need for 2 separate standards? Well, that was a decision that was taken 2 and 3 years ago. Do you have any views on that, Tom?
Well, it's available in 2 different formats. You've got the standalone BS, and then we've also got something called a PD, so a published document. And the PD is where we've tried to mesh together 9001 and 99001. So for a kind of a user experience, make it easier, so that you're then kind of essentially working off of both standards without having to revert back between the 2 documents. So that's how we've tried to mitigate that. But it's comments like that, I think it would be really valuable to be fed into the survey, so that we can kind of consider those in B570 about how we can kind of mitigate those for any future revision.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to the fine line that we have in knowledge solutions versus our colleagues in assurance and certification, in that by being the national standards body and being purpose-led, we're not doing it to make more money. And this question comes up during our development process of whenever we have a new standard. Do we need it? Is the information somewhere else? Is it better placed to be inserted into an existing standard? All of these things are considered, and we do our best to make it as easy as possible for the user to have everything they need. Referencing other standards is commonplace, but where it is causing perhaps issues with its usability, 99 is baby in comparison to many other standards. So as Tom said, please feed that back into the survey. We'll be sharing, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, sharing the slides with links to the surveys and everything afterwards. So do that. But Tom, maybe just copy that and pop it through to the next as a note for the panel when they get to revising it.
And I've just put a quick GIRI advert out here that we will put those links on our newsletters, so our GIRI members and anyone subscribing to our newsletters will be able to get access to the comment situation. Steve, again here on numerous numbers, copy clauses. What was the reason for taking a different approach with 99001? It seems harder to read. Again, I think the development of the standard, as we went through it, there was a lot of comment made on how best to present the standard to the industry. Do you have Kara, or Tom have a comment on that?
I wasn't, like I say, this committee moved over, so I'm relatively new. I wasn't aware that it didn't follow the same format, but again, that's super useful to know. And Tom, unless you've had conversations already with chair and committee, I think that's one to take away and see if we can reformat it so it makes logical sense.
Yeah, will do.
I think so. Derek, hello. Long time no see. You've had a PPQ that wants you to already have BS 9901. So, tell us about
that was part of a framework that we were working towards, and one of the questions on it was if you don't have certification to 99001, then you don't even get your name on the framework. So we actually wrote back to the client and said, it's not UCAS accredited at present, so nobody's got it. And then what they came back was and said, oh, do you know what? You're not the only contractor that said that, so we'll pull that question off the PQQ. So there seems to be a bit of confusion out there from the client side as well as to what is actually happening. So I don't think it's up to the contractor to correct the client on things like this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Should be.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is keep doing what we're doing, which is get the word out there that 99001 is an important step for the built environment, and that there will be these confusions along the way, and hopefully we will get UCAS accreditation in place, and it will simplify things. In the meanwhile, get on board and get 99001 implemented within your organisations, and you'll be in a much better position. Anyway, it's now 2 o'clock. So thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you found it useful. I want to thank Kara and Tom particularly for those great words of encouragement and explanation of why we are where we are. And if you've got any queries, then we can, if you send them to GIRI through the website, we can pass them on. And as I said earlier, I am a member of the B570 committee, so I do pick up on what GIRI members are saying and feed it into the committee when we have meetings. But we're there to support you all in this process. So, you know, let's get on with it. Thank you very much indeed.